AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from downtown Baton Rouge.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tumplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Previewing Saints Niners, Russ Mitchell in hour 3. Brian Kelly's got some injury updates. I'm supposed to do the other thing first, huh? Yeah, but oh, by the way, it's a hump day. Yeah, sorry. I was doing that on the backside. Sorry. One of those things. Little distracted.
It's hump day.
We'll get it together.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Saints start getting ready for the Niners.
Hump day.
You'll hear from Braelin Moore.
It's hump day.
Braelin Moore.
LSU's got a couple of key injuries.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
You'll hear from Brian Kelly.
Hump day.
Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class announced today.
It's hump day.
Ronnie Rantz next hour.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
49ers got injury issues of their own.
Hump day.
We'll hear from Brian.
It's hump day.
That's Brian Peacock
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
of Locked On 49ers.
Hump day.
But I like to say,
It's hump day.
Brian.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Russ Mitchell in hour 3. Taylor Calandro talking booze a little
It's
bit.
hump day.
All right, we got a lot to do. Let's get cranked up here on a busy Wednesday edition of AFR. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, Tigers and Gators, halfway point of the week, getting ready for their matchup Saturday in Tiger Stadium. Both Brian Kelly and Billy Napier were on the SEC Coaches Teleconference Wednesday. Let's get the newsy stuff out of the way first. First and foremost, the question everybody wants to know is updates on Trades Green and on Braelin Moore. Let us begin with Brian Kelly's update on Braelin Moore, which actually is sounding promising here at the midpoint of the week.
I think we have him listed as probable. He did practice yesterday, and we expect him to practice today.
Okay. Probable. They expect him to practice today. I don't know, very candidly, if this is gamesmanship from Brian Kelly or if they're managing this injury with the schedule. Let me explain what I mean. It could be a situation where they don't really expect Braelin Moore is going to play this weekend. And so you're just, it's questionable or probable, still not definitively in or out, just to keep your opponent guessing. That would be gamesmanship. That could be part of it. Just like Billy Napier earlier this week would not disclose anything about a potential suspension for Brendan Betts, the spittor from last week. Part of that's gamesmanship. The other part is that maybe LSU is planning on playing Braelin Moore and just managing this over the next 4 weeks because the schedule allows them to do that. Here's what I mean. What if you spend this whole week getting Braelin Moore treatment, trying to get him just as close to good as he can be, and then Saturday, man, You inject that ankle with some happy juice. You wrap that thing high and tight, and you say, give us what you can, stud, because 75, 80% Braelin Moore is the best option you got at center. And then, knowing full on well, next week you play Southeastern Louisiana, and if Braelin Moore needs to just kick back, kick that thing up, get it elevated, get that swelling down, and take a week, he can have it because you don't need him against Southeastern. And so then you just get him ready for Ole Miss in 2 weeks. And then, by the way, after you play Ole Miss, you got an open date before you play South Carolina, so you can get him more rest there. Now, you know as well as I do when we talk about the ankle sprain, the only thing that heals it is time. It's just time. So, the initial thought would stand to reason, hey, look, if he's not good to go this week against Florida, then there's no reason to play him next week against Southeastern. Then you effectively give him 21 days from injury to back on the field against Ole Miss. And then, oh, by the way, he gets a week off after Ole Miss before you play South Carolina. That would stand to reason to be a pretty appropriate way to approach this, unless if they feel like, no, look, man, it's Florida coming in, that defensive line, that front seven wrecked the game for LSU last year, 7 sacks, 11 TFLs. I know a lot of those guys, or several of those guys, aren't there anymore that were contributors to the issue, and Florida's light on the defensive front. But there's a reason you brought Braelin Moore here. And look, Braelin Moore on Saturday, we get the updates from Gordy. Gordy's a sideline reporter for the LSU Sports Radio Network. So if you're following along with the broadcast with Gordy, he's giving you updates from the sideline, from LSU's sideline. And Braelin Moore went into the locker room, got an x-ray, came back. The x-ray was negative. He came back, and he was trying to go back in that ballgame. I mean, he was snapping, and they had him going up against Jacoby and Guillory, kind of like leaning on him a little bit just to see how the agility was, if he could go back in. And I'm sitting there screaming, take his helmet from him. Get him take his helmet. Hey, 6'1", we got this, bro. Hit the showers. We're going to be good today. There's bigger fish to fry down the road. But I can respect the mentality of a competitor wanting to get back in there. So we'll know. Brian Kelly meet with reporters again on Thursday after practice. He'll have his coaches show Thursday. That'll be the last media availability. And then we won't know for certain until Saturday what the plan is there with Braelin Moore. But it sounds like they were trying to ramp him up to get him ready to go to play on Saturday against the Florida Gators. No update on Trey'Dez Green. Again, a sprained knee. Like we reported over at LouisianaSports.net, the expectation is that he'll miss this week and potentially games but not season-ending, and that Brian Kelly confirmed that. So no update from that. We'll continue to wait and see how Trey'Dez manages throughout the rest of this week. Brian Kelly also was asked about Sydir Mitchell. Now, Shea Dixon had the report first on Tuesday evening that Sydir Mitchell, defensive tackle transfer from Texas, was no longer with the team. And Brian Kelly confirmed that and actually added a new layer, a new wrinkle to this story.
There are standards, right? I mean, I can confirm that he is no longer on the roster, but we have standards that need to be met, and those standards weren't met. Like any business or organization, you have workplace standards, and so those standards weren't met, and really that's all I'm going to talk about relative to Sydir because he's no longer with us.
So, to be clear, Sydir Mitchell didn't leave. He got kicked off the team. He was pushed out the door. And after I heard that from Brian Kelly today, followed up with a few people who confirmed, yeah, Sydir Mitchell was kicked off the team is what happened. And I gave you my perspective yesterday just from an on-field perspective, which I think the way I said it is, it's not surprising that Sydir Mitchell is leaving LSU. The timing, 2 games into the season, is what's surprising. We've talked plenty about the defensive line and the differences with Bo Davis and Kyle Williams and what they want. Of course, it was Bo Davis who brought Sydir Mitchell here, and Kyle Williams wants a faster, sort of smaller, more athletic defensive lineman. And, I mean, look at a guy like Deuce Geralds, who's currently committed for next year's class, 6'1", 270, super athletic and strong, fits that mold, right? That's more like, look at Buddy Mathis, Brandon Brown, the freshmen who have already played this year. They more fit the mold of what Kyle Williams wants. Zion Williams, the big 6'5", 360-pound defensive lineman, hadn't gotten on the field yet. So that's part of it. But clearly here, there was more to it with Sydir Mitchell not conforming to the culture that Brian Kelly has built, which is interesting because these types of stories we have not seen often since Brian Kelly's been at LSU. I remember the first day he was introduced, and he was asked about Kayshon Boutte back then. And he said, if you remember, Kayshon awesome as a freshman. Sophomore was having a dynamic year, broke his ankle against Kentucky. Went through the rehab program. During that interim is when Brian Kelly was hired. And Kelly said, I know his name. It was about the extent of it. And they had the accountability cards and everything like that for the players initially. And it was all about building a culture and a structure and a standard within the program that everybody in the program was expected to live up to. And things had gotten lax and a little loose under Ed Ogeron. And there was a tightening of the belt, so to speak. And that's something that you haven't really seen many guys run afoul of, but clearly it happened here with Sadir Mitchell, who's no longer with the LSU football team. One more update from Brian Kelly. Solomon Thomas, who you might recall that the first day of fall camp, I caught up with Kelly and asked him if there were any other injuries other than Aaron Anderson, who got dinged a little bit that first day. And he said Solomon Thomas had that. He fractured his fifth metatarsal, is what he told me. But good news here on the Solomon Thomas front, the freshman offensive line.
Yeah, he's making good progress. He's out of the boot. He's moving around. I think he's probably, a few weeks from, being in a position where he can take reps. But I think that's still down the road a bit. But again, I think, he's been good in terms of making sure that he's doing everything necessary to get himself physically ready to compete.
Out of the boot's good. But if he says he's still a couple of weeks away, you're talking about now the end of September from then just starting to get yourself back into football shape and starting to acclimate. So definitely behind the eight ball there for Solomon Thomas. It looks like this is probably going to be a little bit of a wash of a freshman year for Solomon Thomas. But the 5-star is a guy with tremendous upside, a guy who was running some with the twos there in spring practice, and could make some noise next year, if not later in this season, but we'll continue to follow that as it goes along. All right, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Billy Napier also was on the SC teleconference. We'll get to what he had to say in just a little bit. Let me knock out a quick break. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. Hey, if you're going to be in Tiger Stadium this weekend or tailgating around Tiger Stadium this weekend, make sure you got plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light in the officially licensed LSU can and aluminum bottle, the 12-ounce can, the 16-ounce aluminum bottle, the beautiful design, hat tip to my friend Courtney over at Mockler, who comes up with these designs here locally, and then they go into mass production, which is just awesome. The white can is a hat tip to LSU's tradition, wearing the white jerseys at home. So when you're tailgating, home gating, game watch, or you're at your favorite sports bar or restaurant, make sure you grab the delicious, refreshing taste of Bud Light. Drink easy with Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. All right, it's After Further Review, y'all. Going to knock out a quick break. As I mentioned, we will get to what Billy Napier had to say. And he was not in the greatest mood today on the SEC Coaches Teleconference. We're going to get to some of that in a smidge. But the New Orleans Saints are back on the practice field today. We have the first attendance report. Remember, the injury report today isn't going to come out a bit later because you have to wait for San Francisco 2 hours behind New Orleans to finish their practice and issue their injury report. But it should be a lengthy one, and one we're going to pay a lot of attention to with guys like Trevor Penning and Chase Young. So we'll keep an eye on them. San Francisco, of course, with Brock Purdy. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get later in the show. But we do have the attendance report, so we know who was at practice. We'll get into that as we continue here on AFR.
After Further Review.
GLO, glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions, Glow Resources and glowresources.com. Glow Resources, they specialize in skilled blue-collar labor. But they also have their professional placement division. And they specialize in office administration, if it's executive level assistants, if it's assistant controllers, plant managers, scheduling assistants, basically any type of office job in any type of industry, if it's accounting, HR, marketing, managerial, or supervisor roles. And at Glow Resources, their pace is your pace. They can move quickly based on your timeline. At Glow Resources, they seek out to find the best employee for whatever job that you have. They recruit nationwide. For example, there was a Baton Rouge company they worked with that was looking for an engineer. They found the employee in Florida to work the job in California. It's Glow Resources. Check them out online at glowresources.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
We got a couple of updates out of San Francisco. Kellen Moore, it's interesting. When Jeff Duncan was with us here on Monday, he talked about, and that's a guy, Jeff's covered the Saints for a quarter century. And so he's covered a lot of different coaches, from the end of Ditka to Hazlitt, and then obviously Sean Payton, and now then Dennis Allen, now Kellen Moore. And he talked about how the schedule is later with Kellen Moore. And I'm explaining this so you know how sometimes the flow of information may be, because typically this is where we would talk about the Saints injury report and attendance and who was there. Well, Kellen Moore's practices are later, so his media availability is later. And part of that is he told Jeff Duncan, he just likes to sleep in. He doesn't like to wake up early. So, I mean, how old's Kat? 36 years old? Is that how old our buddy Ellen is? Do you have it? I think he's
37.
He's 37.
37.
When is his birthday? I thought it was maybe
July 5th.
Okay, so he just had a birthday. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was 36 when he was hired. Okay, so he's 37. Happy birthday, brother. Our birthdays are 3 days apart.
Look
I'm
at
the 8th.
that.
How about that? We're both Cancers. That a boy. See, I knew me and Ellen had what?
Doesn't sound great when you say it that way. We're both Cancers.
We are. We're both Cancers.
Well, I know, but I mean,
You could be what's your sign? You could be a Taurus. You could be a...
No, I believe I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay.
I don't know what that means at all, but I think that is my sign, yeah.
Anyway. So anyway, our guy Ellen, younger, likes to sleep in. So practice is later. So we can't go with the attendance. We have the attendance report drafted and ready to go at louisianasports.net, but you can't publish until they're done with practice. And then we don't get the injury report until later in the day. But this week it's going to be delayed even further. And next week as well, because they play in Seattle. This is just for explanation. You may not care at all. You may not care. I'm just explaining. So because they'll be practicing and then playing the Seahawks next week in Seattle, you're going to have 2 back-to-back West Coast opponents. So the injury reports come out when those teams finish practice, so it's 2 hours delayed. So it's just going to be later than we normally would have that info. We do have a couple of updates. First of all, the most important update is on Brock Purdy. Adam Schefter was on Sportsmanlike, and that was this morning for Schefter. Here's Schefter giving an update on 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy.
But he's got a left shoulder injury, and he's got a toe injury. And the toe is actually more problematic right now than the shoulder. But they want to evaluate him as the week goes on, and it's clear that his status right now is up in the air. I would say right now it's a coin flip.
Okay, so coin flip for Brock Purdy. As we've talked about, if Purdy can't go, it'll be Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback, first-round pick of the Patriots, played in New England for 3 seasons. Last year was in Jacksonville, where he saw action in 10 games, and then now is the backup to Brock Purdy in San Francisco. So, look, Mac Jones has played in 50 career games. I mean, he's seen a lot of action. He hasn't had a lot of success, especially given the expectation of being a first-round pick. But they still have a better roster than New Orleans, and the Niners without Purdy in question, seen that line go from 7 down to 4.5, with the Niners still favored with the possibility of Mac Jones being a quarterback, which certainly speaks volumes about what odds makers think about the New Orleans Saints. The other news for San Francisco is that they've signed their kicker. So former Florida Gator Eddie Pinheiro has been signed by the San Francisco 49ers. They moved Jake Moody. So Pinheiro, the 29-year-old who spent the last 3 seasons in Carolina with the Panthers, was brought in for a workout on Tuesday, and then the 49ers signed him. So San Francisco has their place kicker now in Eddie Pinheiro. Pinheiro is probably most notable because in his rookie season, he kicked for 16 games. He played in 16 games with Chicago Bears and attempted 8 field goals, made all 8 in that rookie season with Chicago. Then went to the Jets for a season. Did not kick in the COVID year, and then did not kick in the COVID year. Then was with the Jets in 21, and then the last 3 seasons, as we mentioned, was in Carolina. So a guy in Pinheiro there who, for his, forgive me, the 2019 season with the Bears, he was 23 of 28. He was 8 of 8 inside of 30 yards. I was looking at the wrong column. I thought that didn't look right. He was 23 of 28 with a long of 53 his rookie season with the Bears. Didn't Pinheiro have the double doink? in the playoff game?
No, that was Cody Parkey.
What Pinheiro had something happened. There was something in Chicago. Maybe he missed a kick in the playoffs. Is that right?
Let's see.
Pinheiro, I don't know why that's sticking in my brain about Pinheiro with something.
Yeah, he missed a game-winning field goal in the wild card round against the Chargers.
That's it.
Parkey was the guy with the
Well, it
double
couldn't have been in
doink.
the playoffs against the Chargers. Maybe that was what would have gotten them to the playoffs.
No, it says winning wild card game in 2018, but no, that doesn't.
They couldn't play the Chargers in the wild card round. Like,
that's true. That's not.
That's a fact. That's
yeah,
not a thing that could have
AFC, NFC.
I'm telling you, whatever he missed, maybe it was a kick that would have gotten there. Pinheiro had some viral moment when he was with the Bears that rookie season, and maybe it was a kick that was a chip shot that would have sent him so many miss. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. So Pinheiro is now the kicker for the 49ers, and a line that's now come down. Could be a close game if the kicking game does become a factor primarily in Saints 49ers, maybe edge Saints after all this hoopla with Moody out and Pinheiro coming in. All right, so we'll get you an update on the practice report and the attendance report for the New Orleans Saints just as soon as we can. We'll get you the injury report later as well. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com. That's williamsoneye.com. For the Williamson Eye Center, Dr. Blake Williamson, we say it all the time, eye care, eyewear, eye surgery. They're a full-service optical shop, so you want your eye exam, Williamson Eye Center. You need to get your contacts or glasses prescription filled, Williamson Eye Center. They have a full-service optical shop. But if you want to ditch the contacts and glasses forever, Williamson Eye Center. Tomorrow is my LASIK anniversary, September 11th. It's a date I'll obviously always remember, but that's my LASIK anniversary. I think it's been 7 years since I had LASIK. Tomorrow will be 7 years, and best decision I ever made. Wish I had done it a decade sooner. And when you have LASIK, you'll say the same thing. So make that call and thank me later, 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com. And also remember, the Williamson Eye Center is the sponsor of Federalis Fest coming up October the 4th at Live Oak at Cedar Lodge. You can get your tickets at federalisfest.com, federalisfest.com, presented by the Williamson Eye Center. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll go around the SEC here in just a smidge. We will get to Taylor from Urban Dictionary in about 15 minutes. So get your booze questions in. You can email us, tweet us, text us in the 225 at 396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Maybe should save this for the next segment, but I guess we'll touch on it now. Last week, the NCAA Oversight Committee approved moving to one dedicated transfer portal period, which would be in the beginning of January, moving it out of December into January, and also getting rid of the September portal period. I don't like that. I understand there's a lot going on in December. You've got bowl games. You're finishing off your December recruiting class. You've got the December transfer portal. You have coaching carousel. Like, there's just a lot going on in December that adding that portal window in December just complicated things further. So moving it back into January, the beginning of January, alleviates some of that. But I really don't like taking away the spring portal window, because there's always going to be situations like Joe Burrow at Ohio State in 2018 where they went through spring, he lost the job, and so he left. Now, there was no transfer portal at the time, but he was a graduate, so he could transfer, and he ended up coming to LSU, and voila, that worked. Think of Nico this year. That was a spring portal window. A.J. Halsey, Bernard Gooden, spring portal ads for LSU. So I don't like getting rid of the spring portal window. And actually, Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, is against the one portal window as well.
I don't think it's a good idea at all. In the conversations that we had with the Big Ten coaches, I think the majority of them agree. I just don't quite understand how, for teams that are playing in the playoffs, are expected to make the decisions and sign their upcoming players while they're still getting ready to play for games. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know the calendar is funky, but I know that the Big Ten and Tony Petitti's been working hard because he doesn't believe it either, and neither do the coaches in the Big Ten. We had a lot of long discussions about that and tried to work through the different windows, but I don't agree with it being in January.
That's really interesting. Now, remember, I know there's always the question about, then why don't you have it after the playoff? The problem is, and you can roll your eyes at this, but the problem is these are still student athletes, and you have to be enrolled in school. And the university has certain mandates about being enrolled for the semester. So if you wait until after the national championship game, what's the date of the championship game this year? Isn't it January 20th, I believe, is the date of the if you could look it up, please, thank you. I think it's January 20th or somewhere around there. You're into a semester already. So, like, if the portal window doesn't open until the end of January, like, the semester's already started. Guys can't transfer schools and then be eligible in time for that spring semester and to go through spring football. So you have it. What is it?
January 19th.
19th. Okay. So that's the problem that you have. And so they're looking at, okay, moving it out of December is better than having it in December when there's so much going on. And really, in January, you're only inconveniencing the handful of teams that are still going to be playing at that point in January. So with 134 FBS schools, do you inconvenience the 4 that are still playing in the semifinals for the benefit of the 130 others? If you're going to be one of the 4s, like Ryan Day and Ohio State anticipate being quite often, then you can understand why they don't like the rule. I don't like it either. I know there's not a great option, but I don't like this one. And I think a big part of it would all be alleviated if you still had a spring portal window. They'll continue to tinker. All right, it's After Further Review. Hump Day Show is brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, yourgoodwood.com. Lowest prices, never any contracts. Learn more, yourgoodwood.com. We'll go around the SEC, and the attendance report is out now for the New Orleans Saints. They're off the practice field. We'll give you an update on Chase Young in just a moment. Stay here, AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. The Gord father. Gordon McKernan, injury attorneys, the Gord father of NIL. Of course, it was Gordon who 4 years ago really lit the fuse, the ignition switch on NIL around LSU, really, and in these parts. And he hasn't slowed down with members of the G team. Garrett Nussmeier, the Tigers quarterback, is the latest member of the G team, with more announcements, I'm told, still to come. You can go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. I would always encourage you to go to their YouTube channel as well, where Gordon has the garage, right? It's his studio there at the office. They literally turned a garage into a podcast studio. And Gordon has a great sit-down with Garrett Nussmeier. They talked about, among other things, him wearing the number 18 jersey and the possibility of playing for his dad with the New Orleans Saints. You can catch that full interview over at Gordon McKernan's YouTube channel. See clips of it on all the social media as well, at GetGordon. But as we always say, if you've been injured, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 30 years. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
We're going to go around the SEC here in just a quick second. Saints attendance report is out now. Again, we don't have the injury reports. They've not yet fully issued the injury report with statuses, but we do know who was, and more importantly, who was not at Saints practice on Wednesday. And most notably, Chase Young still absent from Saints practice. So you can go read the full report up at louisianasports.net. Chase Young, who 2 seasons ago finished the year after being traded from Washington to San Francisco with the 49ers, looking to play against his old team this week. But Chase Young, again, absent from practice. The rest of the absences, Julian Blackmon, no surprise there. We know the torn labrum, he's done for the year on IR. Trevor Penning, still absent. Chase Young, Hunter Deckers was absent, and then linebacker Garrett Nelson also absent. If you're looking for the good news so far, defensive end Fadil Diggs back on the practice squad. Was there Wednesday. His return and Garrett Nelson being absent probably indicates that they, as Ross Jackson notes this, that the Saints maybe don't feel like they need a backlog of defensive ends. It's a spot where they were very heavy at that position. So the other thing, Taliesin Fuaga and John Ridgway were at practice but did not participate. Remember, Fuaga left with a knee injury in the game on Sunday and did not return. So we'll wait on a full official injury status when the injury report comes out. But of note, Trevor Penning and Chase Young were not at practice. Fuaga was at practice but was not participating, so we'll wait till a bit later today to see what their official designation is. All right, it's after further review. We'll go around the SEC in just a quick second. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration. Kill mold, remove odor, parishrestoration.com. Parishrestoration.com. Of course, the Fighting Tigers quarterback, customer of Parish Restoration, recently called Mr. Jim, had him out to the house. They had a mold issue at the house, so Parish Restoration did the work. Sprayed, killed the mold, got all the odor out of there. Fresh, clean, smelling, hazard-free. If it's good enough for 18, it's good enough for you and me as well. It's Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com. I want to remind you as well, while Parish can serve the entire Gulf South, so they do a ton of work in New Orleans. A lot of people ask me, hey, will Parish Restoration go to New Orleans? Yes, and Alexandria and Shreveport and Lake Charles and Lafayette and everywhere. So if you have mold, think you might, your home, your residential building, or a commercial building. I mean, they have dry fogged one of the largest commercial buildings in the state of Louisiana. So it doesn't matter if it's a school, office building, whatever size commercial building, our friends over at Parish Restoration can help. Again, do business with someone you know. It's parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Get that estimate, fill out the form on the homepage at parishrestoration.com. All right, we do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Ryan Williams should be available Saturday against Wisconsin. He missed last week's game against ULM with a concussion that he suffered in the opener against Florida State. Kalen DeBose also said that tailback Jam Miller, defensive tackle Tim Keenan, and linebacker Jamarian Latham, will be game time decisions against the Badgers.
The Missouri Tigers.
Missouri quarterback Sam Horn is going to miss the remainder of the season after undergoing surgery to repair a fractured tibia in his right leg. Horn's a fourth-year player from Georgia. He was injured on the first snap of the season opener. He's expected to make a full recovery, but his 2025 season is over. Penn State transfer Bo Pribula will continue as the starter for Missouri.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia offensive lineman Juan Gaston, Ernest Green, apparently showing progress. They were both injured in the season opener against Marshall. Neither played this past week against Austin Peay. Kirby Smart gave the update during the SEC coaches teleconference on Wednesday. Of course, Georgia this week heads up to Knoxville to take on Tennessee on Rocky Top.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
And injury has kept Javion Gibson on the sideline to start the 2025 season. Apparently, he's close to returning. According to Brett Venables, who gave an update on the SEC coaches teleconference on Wednesday, said he's soon to return. Gibson spent last season at Arkansas Pine Bluff, but Oklahoma saw the production, 1,200 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, and could make his debut this week. All right, there you have it. That is around the SEC. We're glad to have you hanging out with us. Man, I've been so pleased to tell you about our friends over at Arco, ARCCO, Arco.com for Arco Power Systems. When the power goes out, it's Arco Power Systems that brings businesses back online. You know, having a critical power source is not a luxury, it's a necessity for your business. It's a necessity for hospitals. It's a necessity for grocery stores. It's a necessity for gas stations, banks, schools, industrial facilities. No matter what industry you're in, no matter what your business is, think about it. What happens when the power goes out? What is your option? Well, Arco has the solution. ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, Arco.com. Maybe you're a government, municipality. Arco can work with you. They sell and install generators. They rent generators as well. This is industrial power, and they can service your industrial generators. Look, storms come, ice storms come, snowstorms come, as happened last year. Power goes out. You can't be left in the dark. Arco is who you need. ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com. And remember, at Arco, their home base is in Baton Rouge, but they service as far east as Mobile, as far west as San Antonio. They're about to open up an office in Little Rock, in Dallas, Houston, or all over the place. So wherever your business is, you need a backup power solution. You need Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Glad to have you hanging out with us here on this Hump Day edition of AFR. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class was announced today. Ronnie Rance, president of Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, will be in studio in about 18 minutes. We'll talk about that a little bit. A very heavy LSU and New Orleans Saints flavor. We'll get into that in a bit. Brian Peacock of Locked On 49ers will be here in 30 minutes from right now. We'll get an update on the Niners as they prepare to make their trip to New Orleans to take on the Saints this weekend. And Russ Mitchell will be here in hour 3. So we have a plumb ton to do today, and glad to have you hanging out with us here. Let's not get a quick break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1. Taylor Calandra will be here for Bourbon Dictionary. Get your booze questions in. Email us, tweet us, text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Bourbon Dictionary with Taylor Calandra is next.
AFR.
Our Hump Day shows all throughout the year are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, and it really has been my pleasure to tell you about Goodwood. As a matter of fact, just earlier today, I was texting with Gabe over at Goodwood. I've told you about my experience with BPC 157, Body Protection Compound 157. It's a pentadecapeptide. It means it's 15 different amino acids, and it's known to help with tissue repair, muscle repair, recovery from injury. And I'm someone who's dealt with chronic back pain for years, and I have tried damn near everything over the years to get rid of this chronic back pain. And so when I heard about BPC 157, I figured, what the heck, let's give it a try. The results have been pretty amazing. I had my first 8-week cycle, had to go 8 weeks off. And after that, he said, let's go 28 consecutive days. Because before I was doing 5 days in the week, taking off during the weekend. Today is my last day. I texted Gabe. I said, I haven't taken Advil in a month. It's amazing. So we're going to be on a maintenance dose now. Point is, they've got an option so you can feel your best. YourGoodwood.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit YourGoodwood.com. They're the gang with the slang.
Keep it 100. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is Bourbon Dictionary with Matt Moscona and Taylor Calandra.
I don't understand.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1. You know the drill. You can email us, tweet us, or text us in the 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways that you get involved in the show. Taylor, how are you, dude?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really well. We always appreciate the time. It's tailgate season. It was temps in the low 60s earlier.
A little. Monday was crispy.
I know. Getting toward brown water weather. What's new over there, man?
So this week we got some cream of Kentucky.
Hey.
It's a little different. This is the first batch they've done that's not originally it was J.W. Rutledge's project, and they were sourcing allegedly from Four Roses in 1792. Now the rumor is it's Old Forester and the Angels Envy mash bill. I tried the cash strength over the weekend. We have it's like 120 proof, I think. It is fantastic liquid. Really good. It's $90. I think the small batch it's 100 proof, and it's 65-ish, 66, I think. And I haven't tried the small batch. The cash strength was exceptional.
Okay.
It's really good. It's a really good cash strength for under $100. So if you see it, get it. I don't know how readily available it's going to be, but we have it.
If you like cash strength whiskey, that's a really good option to go. What's the is it the 13-year that's the allocated cream of Kentucky? Is that right?
Yeah, they've done their earlier releases were pretty small, so it's hard for me to keep up with what they've done. It's been very infrequent the way they've released stuff. I do know that this mash bill is completely different than what they've been doing, though.
Okay.
So yeah, some of the past batches and releases have been pretty highly allocated.
All right. Remember, you can always get your questions in. Email us, tweet us, text us, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Craig said, hey, Taylor, what's your go-to drink at the tailgate when you're eating gator meat?
Gator meat. My go-to drink at a tailgate is very boring. It's vodka and tonic. If my wife allows me to start drinking hard liquor, I would suggest a good local IPA. IPAs go great with spicy food, in my opinion.
Why is that?
I don't know. I like drinking them with spicy food. I don't know if they're necessarily in the book supposed to be with spicy food. I just like the crispness and the citrus characteristic you get from most IPAs. It goes well with spicy food.
All right. Love that idea. It's a good week to eat gator. Let's see. Brandon said, ask Taylor. He said, I feel like I ask every week, what's a good up-and-coming brand or underrated, less well-known whiskey worth giving a try?
Oh, man. There's just not many out there. The ones that are up-and-coming are not necessarily up-and-coming anymore. I would say Cream in Kentucky. They're smaller. They're up-and-coming-ish. I would put them in that category.
I know you and I have talked about this a lot over the years, but is the bourbon craze from maybe 5-7 years ago seems to be slowing a bit? Is that a fair way to say it, so that you aren't seeing as many new products come to the market, or is demand just down?
There's a lot of factors. I think COVID it really magnified every hobby, and I would consider bourbon a hobby, sort of. It magnified it because everybody had money to spend. Mm-hmm. And even though before that, the bourbon craze was still out of control, it has definitely plateaued. People have gotten a lot more selective, and I don't know if that's because of bourbon necessarily or just the economy in general. People have dialed back. It's hard to tell. It's just the past 5 years have been really weird.
Yeah. The whole world changed.
Just from a market perspective, it's hard to gauge just because of there's so many factors that have contributed that are not normal.
Everything. Yeah, the whole world changed, as we all know, with COVID. It altered everything that everybody does. Think about what the world would be like without Zoom now. But like that all became a thing because of COVID. Of course, it was a.
We could talk about this for several hours.
Ask Taylor, any good allocations coming up from the big brands?
I think Eagle Rare 12 is going to be floating around soon, which is going to be the big one of the fall, I would think. And then the normal allocations are going to start floating anytime now. This is the time of year that they actually start putting stuff out in the market. So
yeah.
I would definitely be aware.
What about fall beers? We seen any fall beers hit the shelves yet?
Tons of Oktoberfest if you're into that style, like Amber style, Marzen. Really good to drink for cooler weather. I don't particularly like Oktoberfest style beers when it's not cool, but tons of those. Tons of Oktoberfest beers.
Do you have a preference, a favorite?
I've talked about them before. I like the old world breweries when it comes to that style. Weichstefiner or Apolliner, they make the old German breweries do Oktoberfest really well, and even some of the local breweries. Parrish has a good Oktoberfest too, Oktoberfest style beer.
Okay,
that they do.
See if we can get one more in here. Mike said, "Ask Taylor, what's a good wallet-friendly alternative to Blanton's?"
I love Elijah Craig. It's a third of the price. If you can find Ancient Age is just unaged Blanton's. Basically, it's just very, very young Blanton's. It's very wallet friendly too. Same exact mash bill. And if you can find any, oh my God, Bowman. But Bowman is the same exact mash bill.
Okay,
it's also hard to find too, cheaper too.
Taylor Calandro from Calandro is going to join us here on Wednesdays for a little Whiskey Wednesday Bourbon Dictionary. All right, man, we appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks as always.
All right, you too, Matt. See you.
All right, be well. It's After Further Review, brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Of course, my buddy Brandon Holly over Relief Windows does awesome work. Hey, look, they also do wood windows. Wood windows that come with a lifetime warranty. Like maybe your HOA requires wood windows. if that's the case, and you fret that because you realize they're going to rot and you're going to be replacing windows every 5, 6, 7 years, don't. Call Relief Windows, install them once, be done forever. Windows, doors, siding. They do shutters as well at Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. If you're just shopping price, say this every day, if you're just shopping price, don't call Relief Windows. They're never going to be the cheapest. That you will find someone who will sell you windows cheaper. That's just the thing. But you want the best product, the best install, the best customer service, the best service after the sale, a true lifetime transferable warranty, well, then there's only one choice. It's Relief Windows. ReliefWindows.com. All right, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class of 2026 was announced today. Ronnie Rance, president of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, will be with us here after the top of the hour to talk about that class. And we head to San Francisco to talk to Brian Peacock here in about 20 minutes. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
Ooh, when I get out of here tonight, I'm going to dinner at Supper Club. Going to have dinner with my friends over at Our Lady of the Lake. A little Supper Club dinner tonight. Looking forward to it. And especially because I got a text earlier today from Chef Layton over at Supper Club. And he had been kind of telling me that the Sagrera cows that they get in, that's, they get the whole cow. They get the whole cow at Supper Club and they butcher it there in the kitchen at Supper Club. That the marbling on these cows that were coming are off the charts. Like there's choice and then there's prime. Well, these are so far off the charts beyond prime, it doesn't even register. I cannot wait. And Layton didn't even know what was going in tonight. He texted me, he's like, the Sagrera cows are here. And I was like, man, I'm going to be there tonight, as a matter of fact. So maybe I'll see you there. You want the best steak you'll ever eat in your life? Get on by Supper Club. SupperClubBTR.com for your reservation. SupperClubBTR.com. It's Supper Club.